Today we're going historical and we're painting a Sioux war chief. Yo dog, Kenny Boucher here, Next Level Painting, hitting you up on the literal best of all days here in the Beats Lab in Hollywood, California. We're back, and Happy New Year's. We initially evacuated because of the fires, then we actually went on vacation around the 15th. We haven't made content for about 2 weeks. So this is the first studio tutorial of 2018, and we are back on the Sioux War Chief from my mom and her father at Old Guard Miniatures in New Hope, Pennsylvania from the 70s. There's a lot of history behind this model, and I go into it at length in the previous video, Leather is Secretly Easy. We've got 2 things left to do before I launch into this video. First off, we got to thank some people, and second off, I got to tell you what 2018 is all about. We've got a long list of amazing individuals who supported me in December. Now, I can't do this without you guys. Essentially, these videos are brought to you by my patrons. If you're a patron and you're watching this, thank you. I want to thank Robert, Marizo, Luke, Garrett, Michael, William, Nicholas, Sean, William, Jack, Zod, Kelsey, David, Philip, Dirk, Janixi, Andre, Andy, Alejandro, Paul, Mr. Sensitivity, 10X Labs, Rob, Philip, Thomas, Eric, Stefan, Timothy, Engineer Harry, Mike, Diego, Ingo, Luke, Bonko, Dylan, Peter, Philip, Sean, and Mark. Thank you guys so much. I literally cannot do it without you. That's how I keep the lights on. Let's talk about the other thing. 2018, we've got 2 simple goals. Goal 1, more videos. Goal 2, more quick guide analog tutorials. Now these are the heat guides. The quick guides are the compendiums that I make, show you the picture of the model we painted, show you the colors we use, and to create an analog step-by-step breakdown. They're very helpful, I think, in conjunction with the videos. My goal is to do one of those every week in addition to the studio tutorial. Now, nothing's changing with our live videos over on Twitch, 2 a week. We did change times though, so this is a big announcement, guys. We now go on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's 1 hour later. It's still 66% the same, just we shifted back 1 hour. And we're always going to be on Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but we got something new. At the end of the year, we play tested some new ideas. So look for Saturday. Periodically, we're going to be doing something sneaky. And of course, Double Yo Dogs on Saturday is the new heat. Let's do this thing, guys. We got the Sioux War Chief. Today, we're going to paint that war bonnet. We're going off this picture that's literally 30 years old. We're going to be using some somber gray from Game Color, that's Vallejo. And a little of this hobo white courtesy of slowfusegaming.com. We're going to start off with a little bit of somber gray and water. We're going to make a real thin mix, and we're going to establish the base coat here. We're going to be working more of a cooler white, I guess. If you can call this a cool gray, it's right there on the edge, I think. But I'm not a color scientist, I swear. So we're going to build it up slowly over this brown from the previous video, Leather is Secretly Easy. And today, we're going to show you how easy it is to get some whites established on a very cool historical model with realistic and subtle details. So we're going to be doing some exciting stuff here, but don't forget, by the end of the video, we are going to have to bring it back to that muted spectrum, that historical spectrum, as much as I want to go fantastic here. Now we're just going to carefully get everything covered in that gray. Then we're going to introduce a little bit of this white into the mix, so that way we have brightened it by a couple degrees. And then we're going to do everything we just did again. We're going to be sure to stay thin, have the appropriate amount of water in there. It's a little bit of a glaze technique here. The idea here is that the details are so subtle on these OG pewter models that you don't want to ever build up the paint. You'll lose what little details there are in something like a feather, for example. So very thin coats. We're going to, by the end of this, probably 5-6 coats. We're going to let it dry, do it again, let it dry, do it again until we feel good with it. But very thin coats, a very thin sheet of acrylic paint. Here we go, looking solid, building it up all day, every day. Now, there is going to be a difference between these whites. Now you notice that these feathers are white, but I'm sure his bone armor is going to be white too. In a later video, we'll cover the bone white spectrum, which will be more of a warm white. Okay, now we're going to pour some more with this hobo white out. And we're going to, rather than add it to the gray, we're going to add the gray to it. And we're going to do everything we just did again. Very thin. But you know what's great about these game colors? You get amazing coverage. The pigments are insanity. Just a little bit of that somber gray mixed into this white gives insane coverage, even though we're working real thin here. We're just going to build it up again. We're not too worried about getting every little nook and cranny. It's good that some of this gray will stay in the recesses, but I will show you the airbrush technique. We will smooth all of this out with the old airbrush. Same deal here. Slowly build these whites up, very thin. Try not to get it on his skin. Spent some time in the last video doing that skin. All right, 2018. First time we pulled out the airbrush flow improver here on these videos. We're gonna mix a little bit of that hobo white in with the airbrush flow improver. We're gonna get everything operational, and we're gonna just start subtly smoothing out those white streaks from the brush strokes with a very insanely thin coat of airbrush. This is 99% air, 1% water, and paint and flow improver. I used to say 99% air, 1% paint, but there's more in it than paint, because this is that hobo white from slowfusegaming.com. It's a secret formula. All right, we're even going to use the little index card trick to shield some of his armor off. We don't want to get anything anywhere. And check it out, we're even going to spray the bonnet right above his face. We're going to be very careful not to get it on his skin all day, every day. We might even use our thumb, I don't know. We might have to cover his face up just a little bit. Here we go, and we're going to spray it off the tip of our thumb, kind of upward to the headband, but you see a little bit of that white got on his skin. That's fine, it's so thin. It's going to be mostly a highlight, but check this out. Use the paintbrush with a little water, going real quick, and you'll wipe that overspray off before it even has a chance to dry. We got some solid whites being built here, very cool whites. This is what I like to see. I would love to keep it in this insanity spectrum, but we got way more to do on the war bonnet. Now the war bonnet has all sorts of markings on it. The feathers have designs built into them. I don't know what all the things are called, because I am definitely not a Sioux Indian historian or war bonnet scientist. But luckily they provided a picture, courtesy of Old Guard Miniatures. So now we're going to mix Exile Blue and a little Thumbar Black together, and we're going to just start tracing in those designs in the feathers. They're like basically just kind of a triangle, and we're just going to work it in. You know, we want to be nice and sharp with them, but we don't want to be like too sharp, I guess, because we are going more of a historical. There should be distortion here, but I do like the pattern that we're getting here, using the old pinky brace technique. Staying strong, getting them built in. And we're just going to go through literally every single feather. All right, P3, Sanguine Base. Now we're going to start doing those red tufts on the ends of the feathers. I literally don't know what they're called. I don't even know if they're part of the feather. I don't know if it's a decoration. I reiterate, not a scientist, not at least of Sioux war bonnets. So take a look at that. We're just going to build it up. It's already looking great. It's popping. It's giving you that look, that iconic feel all day. I love it. But we're going to have to bring it up a notch, obviously, once all this Sanguine Base dries. We're going to be having to dip into another color, an old schooler, one of my all-time favorites, Mephiston Red. We're going to take Mephiston Red, thin it down, and just kind of redo that rapid fire, make it bright. Now you can use the hairdryer in between these steps to help dry it up, which is actually what I did. So once we get all this on here good and dry, we can begin talking about how we're going to mute it down. Now, honestly, my personal preference is to keep it closer to this spectrum that we just established. I love that. But we're going to be working in that historical feel. We're going to mute it all down. To do that, we're going to be using one of my favorite companies in the world, the Army Painter, Dark Tone, and a little quick shade mixing medium. These are the truth. Now we're going to essentially make a very light gray wash. We're going to take some of the dark tone, move it into the medium until we have essentially a gray. And then we're going to take this gray and we're going to just start pushing it around in the war bonnet. Now, like I said, I love that brightness, but that is not the world we're working on right now. We're doing a historical. So we need to weather it. We need to antique it. We need to give it a little bit of a depth of age and use. So we're going to also push it on all the feathers into all the nooks and crannies. And what it's also going to do is it's going to kind of smooth it out. Like the red, the black on the feathers, all of it is going to become sort of in the same palette. It's going to be from the same era now. It's going to have that look. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the historical painting style, but this is the challenge that we've set for ourselves. Now, there's a few tricks you can do in order to keep going, bring back some of those highlights. And you see, we're very close to what the box art is telling us. So I'm going to take some of that hobo white and I'm going to just start subtly building up highlights in the feathers. Now, you can go as aggressive here as you want. We're going to do some subtle lines. We're going to do lots of little hatch marks in the feathers, and we're going to work very light with the glaze technique. You're not going to see a lot of it coming through here because white is very hard to light, but I would advise to be careful here because you are in danger of going back to the comic book spectrum, which is where I live normally. So just subtle, easy strokes, as many strokes as it takes. Try not to get it all done in the first pass. I'm working very thin here. Got a lot of water mixed in this white and a little flow aid. This is actually what was left over from the airbrush. So you see we're just dropping some hash marks in there. We're just gonna start bringing it back up. See, it's brightening up slowly. The edges are starting to look a little bit more contrasted. And we're gonna have to do something about the headband. We'll eventually have to put all the designs in there, but we're almost done with this war bonnet as far as the historical side of it's considered. Now, I do have to study that box art, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to paint those little designs on the headband. He's got some beads in there. This is a very detailed model, deceptively detailed. Same thing right here. We're gonna take the bigger brush and almost wet dry brush some of the white back into the tips. Since we're working so thin with a glaze, it's fine. Finds the definition as it does, and you see it's looking a little bit sharper than it just did a second ago, but it's still in that antique world. It's still in that weathered world. Here he is. He's looking amazing. There's the box art. We're doing great work here, guys. This is our first foray into the world of historical miniatures. Thanks for stopping by with me on the first video of the year.